Welcome to the lovely future humans and all those who are being their true self. So, if you're empowered with trauma, attachment education, or you're empowered with the 5D collective of Christ consciousness, mystic, spiritual, or mindful living, loving, integrated brain people, then you're going to have a good time here. As you know, being yourself gets that lovely magic that works through you to come forth. So how does it reveal it? Well, it reveals it because you know how to take the lead, because you know also how to hold your power, and really, I've got the power, all the power. So what are common traits of those of us who get to be our true selves versus those who are acting as if their true self is what they are? Okay, so pause and wait till the end to figure out which one of the two. No, I'm pretty sure that if you're going to be here with Christ consciousness in mind, you know how to forgive, turn the other cheek. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. And if you tuned into any of our late HP shows, there's no evil, Knievel, medieval, the whole evil, bad, and any of those words that are in the group of those who are with their habitual brain, default mode network. Thank you, Dr. Bezo Vanderkolk, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox for letting me know, and above all, Michael Stone. He is a forensic criminologist who has a scale of evil. They're all basically people who need therapy. So with that being said, as Jesus pointed out, the kingdom of God is within every one of us. As God pointed out to me, hey, don't make fun of your brothers and sisters. Actually, no, God said this. Maria, he reminded me, he doesn't have to use my name since he knows everything. And also as a mystic, I'm also an Akashic record reader. So I'm part of Akash Source Anima Mundi, and you are too, but we don't do the whole word divinity because that's really ego. And that's for 43D Collective to continue doing, as they instead dishonor themselves. So people who are only acting as if they are being their true self, so they actually use the same words that I use. They use the same cards, but they do the difference with them reclaiming their power, and they get on screen and yell at people. And then they take the lead and say, how dare, and they have a charge. And so everybody has a group, and they're the good group and the bad group. And they hit rock bottom, by the way, which makes me think, wow, you really don't know how to handle yourself. As hitting rock bottom makes me think of Pinocchio. And by the time I was 14, I said, okay, you're all out because you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Because the kids that did cocaine and drugs, I didn't know about it because I would have ratted them out. The kids that did alcohol in a very poor way, I got stupid too, and I smoked cigarettes, but I wasn't that stupid, so I got to maintain moderation. You also find out that inner outer critic, negative self-talk and negative out-talk, plus drinking, drugging, fucking, and all the shame business. So people who don't know what it means to have power and lead, they don't know that magic works through them when they're their true self. So being yourself, again, reveals how magic works through you. This is because you're taking the lead of your brain, because you hold your power and love, which means you are, number one, securely attached and non-traumatized. And so you're an emotionally mature person, and that means you have emotional regulation skills. So you understand, I am regulated, and when you get charged, I am getting upset. And I don't project any of it because I'm not going to choose to be unkind, close my heart, and be in a body that is in protection when there's no bearer for me to fight. And there's no human being that I need to fight, because really hands are bad manners, and only those who don't know how to have intellectually interesting conversations with emotionally mature, and I'm my own authority, so no one speaks for anyone. And as God pointed out to me, Maria, don't judge your brothers and sisters of human suffering. That's those who have the default mode network in protection mode. So the ones who pretend to know that magic works through them. They pretend to take the lead by using self-righteous, the low frequency energy of that which was the only thing they had to fight the monsters that were at their home. And they want to keep talking about monsters that exist because they download channel not with the prefrontal cortex. 3D, 4D does not use their body in connection. So they don't know that reclaiming, we don't lose power. The self-agent right here. So if you were a self-agent, you too, like me, when I was 3, I was like, you can't spank me, it is in my body. And as a not monstrous human being, I got spanked by my mother. And that's why God is not a threat to me, because after she spanked me, I went to make my suitcase. And my twin, she went to hug her and said, Mommy, I'll never leave you. And that's for another story. So as Sadhguru points out, you do not need to do anything. And actually says you do not have to do anything, You do not have to think anything. You do not have to feel anything to be complete. Although, yes, that's actually quite interesting because when you're whole, the wholeness, personality patterns, temperament, Dr. Daniel Siegel informed me, when you have the self and you own it like this, it's this when Maria cries. It's okay, 1-year-old. We got this. Nobody took our power away. If they don't see me, it's okay. My confidence doesn't get eroded by those who don't know how to take the lead because their double standards are bullshit because they don't know emotional regulation skills. They don't know emotional maturity. They don't know evil doesn't exist in a way of philosophy or religious textbooks, and that there's proof, because it's not about belief. Belief is when there's something you believe in, like God. I believe in God. He is not provable, like he's not disprovable. But evil, disprovable. Yes, evil acts. The evil cruelty thing, I mean, adding stuff next to that word, but it's lack of education for evil with any of those human beings who don't understand that the only people who commit those heinous, all of them, ridiculous, cowardless. Okay, so hold on to your pants. Okay, so you are a complete life as you are when you're being yourself like this. No, I got a 3-year-old, she's great. 1-year-old, great. You don't have to change. Nope, you get to be yourself, flawed, imperfect, with integrity. There's no brokenness in a way that makes you defective, but if you are broken, you are fixable because you're healable, because you were never meant to be the unkind human being who, so do you know what the common traits of the people who are pretending to be themselves? So they pretend like fancy people in suits. Yeah, so number 1, they have a body in protection. Please remember, as Dr. Amy Apigian points out, even after years of therapy, there are people who still are learning to put their emotional, mental, and physical regulation skills into the forefront so they can have inner and outer wellness and continue to maintain wholeness. That's why Dr. Daniel Siegel's PDP framework is really amazing for those of us who use mindful mindset, the inner growth way. So your growth mindset leads you to taking the lead, to continuously harnessing all of the power. I've got the power. And so when someone looks away, here's Kali, Shiva, Krishna Lila. Wow, that was, I'm sure they have things to do. You don't ruminate about people who don't text you back, about men, women days. It's also why we don't have issues with our twin flames, any of them, because, empowered feminines, it's not about a woman, it's about the body and connection. Okay, so let me share with you, in case you want to go, people who are only acting as if they are their true self, the common traits they share. And remember, these are all emotionally immature people. This is not a label. This is an answer and an explanation to trauma. Is not the event that happens to you. It is a response. Stephen Porges. I'm going to quote a couple of him first. When people think of these individuals who are in their biological rudeness and are triggered as if it's the words that are coming out of their mouth, no, it's Cusco, and their somatic narrative speaks wonders because we're all embodied brains. So being yourself means you're like, oh, look, I have a purse. What's happening here? So triggers are basically uncontrolled automatic behaviors until they're choosing to be self-aware, accountable, regulating, and be grown-ups. And for example, Patrick Chiahan talks all about how to not project your childhood trauma into the sphere of humanity and a lot more. And that you don't have to forgive any of that which happened at home. So he's a good therapist for childhood trauma survivors who are healed and healing with him. And he's also healed and healing. And so that's why they all go and continue to work on themselves even after therapy. He has another video that answers why your CPTSD isn't getting better. And he gives really great tips to those who want to be grown-up versions and emotionally mature because they're like, yeah, I want to play with these self-empowered, enlightening human beings. The 5D collective is all of that, mystic, spiritual, mindful. We're cool with woo-woo pseudoscience. So Stephen Porges, he says, I hope every therapist will think of triggers as these physiological states because it's not the word or any of whatever they're speaking, and people who know how that works, yeah. I mean, have you ever gotten moody and you snap at people for no reason except for you don't know how to handle yourself? That's what happens to the pretenders. And so they say, but this is how I have emotions. And you think, well, I'm in the wellness industry, so our positive vibes, they're actually ventral energy vibes, and it's called we're the elite of the emotional, mental, and physical invincible Pacha land, and we don't actually snap at each other. And if we do, we learn about it, and if we have tones and we get loud, and I'm still working on personal growth with my immediate family. So they like to chime in and tell me things, and I say, okay, I got it. I got a bossy tone. That's totally fair and square because I'm the self-agent, and that's with everyone. So my 3-year-old, she still comes up. See, I have flaws. I'm imperfect, but I'm a cockroach and my mother will still love me because that's the Neapolitan saying. And then she'll make sure that I'm an abiding citizen, which definitely that's true. but at least I don't have those double standards. So the common traits of people who are not truly their self and who are pretending and they're performing, they have no emotional empathy or compassion because of the biological rudeness that stems from their body in protection. So it's neuroception. They're not choosing to scan self and others and feel unsafe and dysregulated. But they can learn to get their act together, like Dr. Daniel Fox points out, and become aware, accountable, regulate, and then not bring, as Patrick Tian would point out, if Phil looks at me one more time, I'm going to beat him up, their projection from their childhood. So the 0-8-year-old, when you meet Cusco's, it's a 16-year-old, but really you're dealing with their subconscious, unconscious. So their karma, plenty of bountiful. And so they're not whole, they're not mastering their personality patterns or their temperament, and they're definitely not working to navigate the ventral energy, but they will tell us why they're right. In fact, they actually manipulate on purpose so that they can, like Tom and Jerry, pick at each other. Furthermore, if they are upset, they want to hurt your feelings. And so that's called emotionally immature people who poke at people. But when you're being yourself, you're like, okay, really, I didn't have to reclaim my power. I said yes to Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. There's no Lucifer monster in front of me when I got, it doesn't have to be saluted, some human being who has unhealthy self-worth, and I did nothing to them. So you allow yourself to know what equanimity feels like, because that's really the health of you. And then discernment, a mediocre behavior. Yeah, no, I'm not going to copy that. So when people get triggered into either mobilization defenses or shutting down, they develop elaborate narratives that make sense of what their body's doing, which is why we have conspiracy theorists, by the way, and a bunch of more sensationalization drama kings and queens who don't want to get out of it. And they say they're here to be light and lightning, not light and love. Well, we're light, love, and lightning. That's why I've got the power with the discerning equanimous love that God brings in and telling me, don't judge your brothers and sisters of human suffering. And Buddha and I have a thing because he makes fun of me because he sat under a tree, and I make fun of him because I'm like, your ventral vagal toning exercises won't work, and the meditation mindfulness with integration if they don't get their sense of self owned from their 0-8-year-old, and those first 3 years are implicit memories. So when they believe they are entitled to things and that they can fix anything with money or basically gifts, or I don't know, saris or something. Yeah, no. I mean, really, they're inconsistencies. One day you're great, one day you're awful, one day I'm happy, one day I'm not. So the conspiracies, the power play, it's not interesting. It gets very, Cusco. Pacha just allows Cusco to continue. At the end, he lies because, what am I going to do? As Pacha points out. And that's where any person who's mentally, emotionally, physically intelligent owns a sense of self, you're not going to do anything because, like Dr. Bessel van der Kolk and everybody else points out, you don't actually convince people that they need someone or something. So Bessel van der Kolk's example is you can't convince a friend not to marry someone that's bad for him. And you can't talk somebody out of their very intense emotions. Yes, in fact, there's a man who says that enlightenment is a trap, that he wishes the world was about what is right and not what feels right. And in the meantime, their entire discourse is based on irritated feelings with people who are building communities based on love. That's what envy, jealousy, spite get people. But the cynics, they all follow him and they all like the same frequency, which is really pretenders again. They don't have the power. They only have a modulated embodiment at best. And well, they have double standards. Okay, so these are other things that those who are acting, they're only acting, they're pretending, like my facade friend. He's not his real self, because I'll never get to meet his 3-year-old, his 1-year-old, his 8-year-old as a mature person. I get to meet all of his insecurities, sure. Yeah, that's why, I don't yell at people in their face anymore when they're pretending to be themselves. They can only interact with people and situations by ranking them hierarchically. So they want to do 1, 2, 3. And when I found out that the polyamory community has this, I'm like, they're not amore. They don't know love. Death do part, sickness and in health, for better, for worse. I will always want your best interest, which means your happiness, which means if I ain't it, we can talk about it. And for polyamory, we have poly vessels, the polyfidelity kind, and we also just have secure attachment people who don't need labels, but we use words. Yes, because, at least there's ways that you can easily say things that would require me to share with you all my twin flame story, 1, 2, 3, soulmates, my oversoul, which really, that's for those of you who are here, but also why are you caring about how many people I can love or not love? Although there's no hierarchy, by the way. As Eric Fromm points out, love is a verb, like self is a verb, as Dr. Daniel Siegel points out. When you are your true self, you don't manipulate words intentionally. You just use words, and then everyone's a manipulator. And the ones who manipulate intentionally, and then they want to hurt people's feelings, they only really play with Tom and Jerry, because when you deal with trauma victims, their nervous system is a neuroceptive state that has great advantages in detecting a predator, but it is totally compromised in being social. And the hierarchy for that, which is this social engagement feature: prosody, facial expression, gestures, within a quiet, safe environment. So securely attached, non-traumatized people, we know what death through parts, sickness, and health means. We know being our true self. That's because when we feel deeply. We don't suffer because we're not in our temporal junction. Excuse me, let me do it right. The left mode doesn't chit-chatter over the right mode, and we're not in our temporal junction. Our habitual brain, default mode network, is downregulated, so we're in our prefrontal cortex, and we're using our body in ventral vagal state, which is why we enjoy the mindful mindset practices that I get to bring to you in the growth mindset. So you are revealing how and why your magic is consistently the imperfect, flawed person, but as a function of child adult, we know life doesn't hit us. God don't test us, Source, Akash don't test us. None of that stuff. There's no, superheroes, supervillains, rock bottom, rising like a phoenix. The earth doesn't need us, but we definitely, like you don't need me, enjoy to hang out with emotionally mature people who like to do emotional mental regulation skills, because our entire embodiment is a playground. So life doesn't hit you hard when you're empowered and enlightened as a self. That means use your human name, and it does nudge you, right? You know all about nudges, and that's to soar. So you continue ascending for mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving self-agent here. I don't know about you, but that's where I'm at. And so your 5D frequency is the enlightenment love frequency, and you keep on moving above, above, above. And with it, God nudges you, and Akash Source. And with it, what does it bring? It brings you help. All you need is love. Boom, boom, boom. All you need is love, love. And that's not necessarily romantic. It's just love. And so, through being yourself, you become the inner master of your heart's inner peace and deep appreciation. And with that body in ventral vagal state, you get to soar the skies. And you get to soar the heart. And we get to engage in healthy relationships. Tune on in for more, and have a great one.